Welcome to your daily dose of Poverty Proof, how the rich think differently and how you can train your brain for wealth. Let's talk about the idea of knowledge absorption. By now, I'm sure you've heard of the high numbers of books that CEOs and business builders tend to read in an average year. And the simple idea is that taking in new knowledge gives you smart cuts. The more knowledge you have, the easier things become. It's like gaining more levers by which to access the world around you. At the beginning of the book Poverty Proof, I point out something historically interesting. During antiquity, most people around the world were illiterate, with the exception of the Jewish people who were literate almost without exception. And there is much history to evidence the idea that that helped them to become the most economically successful people through all ages and all periods in time throughout the world. So the idea of taking in new knowledge and of reading is incredibly important. Now, how do you prioritize that? In a world in which you're trying to build your career, your business, your brand, whatever the case might be, how do you ensure that you get the time to get that done? Let's talk about that.
Set absorption goals, then organize your routine around them. Earlier, we referenced the Jewish people reading liberally, and we made a link between this activity and their disproportionate financial success throughout history. Reading impacts upon how much you earn because it provides you with knowledge. It gives you insights and ideas that directly increase your potential for income, whether you are salaried or whether you are your own boss. In upcoming chapters, we will discuss very specific and practical wealth acceleration techniques, such as raising your value, solving expensive problems, breaking the link between hours and income, and more. For now, it is enough to say that many of the things you will need to do to become richer rely on your having increased knowledge. I hope that you already love reading. But even if you don't, it's not the activity itself that matters. It's the knowledge you gain. I want you to set up a habit of beginning to absorb more knowledge than you did before, so that you become a more effective earner. This may mean reading more, or it may mean listening to audiobooks, or perhaps it may mean watching more educational videos online. Whatever you choose, I want you to bake this choice into your daily life as a preloaded habit. Here is how I do it. I once made a decision that I would begin every single working day by picking up my copy of the Harvard Business Review and reading an article. Nothing happens until after I've done that. If I've run out of articles, I read a chapter of a book, usually to do with entrepreneurship. I have promised myself that I will do this even when I have a rushed or stressful day ahead, on the grounds that I can't afford not to do it. My income is directly linked to my expanding knowledge. And so is yours. I could easily tell myself that I don't have time to read, the latest project is too urgent, the deadline is too close, and then remain extremely busy while also remaining at a low level of wealth. Or I could turn reading into a scheduled, preloaded habit. When I do that, I choose to raise my income over time while also decreasing my amount of busyness over time. How does this magic act happen? Simple. Reading continually provides me with smart cuts. Whenever I have problems or challenges to overcome, the reading provides me with aha moments in which I discover that I've already read a clever solution to that particular issue, and so I solve it quickly rather than struggling with it for months. I already have the answers to things that could otherwise have taken up huge amounts of my time, or, at least, I know where to find them. So, I don't care how much it is. I don't care what your sources are, but I want you to make a ritualized habit out of daily knowledge absorption. I would prefer you to read because I think it's the best medium. But if your choice is to watch YouTube videos or to listen to a podcast each day, those are very respectable options. It's the ritual that we're after. I also highly recommend downloading the Audible app to your phone and then listening to audiobooks. I make a daily habit of doing that too. On average, I listen to about 45 hours worth of audiobooks per month, which means over an hour a day. I do it while I'm driving, at the gym, or relaxing. If you would like specific reading recommendations, then I would suggest two magazines that are worth your while: Harvard Business Review and Entrepreneur Magazine. You can also read many of Entrepreneur's articles for free at www.entrepreneurmag.co.za. These are two excellent places to start. In fact, I defy you to read those two sources faithfully each month and remain poor. I would also recommend that, at least occasionally, you read books on wealth, business, or entrepreneurship. Pick the title that most appeals to you. It doesn't have to be a dense book. Sometimes very small books contain very large wealth-building ideas. New commitment. I understand that I can be extremely busy every day, earning small amounts of money. Or I can take time out of my business to learn better answers and thereby become less busy and more wealthy. I choose less busy and more wealthy. Therefore, I choose a ritual of daily learning. New behavior. Right now, I'm going to decide how much knowledge absorption I will commit to making each day and what the source will be. It could be an article, a chapter, a magazine, a podcast, or a YouTube video. It could be a mix of all of the above. I will commit to doing it as part of a set routine every day, preferably at the start of the day. Warning. Should I read financial publications? Well, sure if you'd like, but there is a serious danger zone to be avoided. The content splits into two types. One is good, one bad. The good kind contains principles of wealth. Reading this type of content is an excellent idea, and it generally comes in the form of books like this one. However, there are also publications that provide the latest hot stock tip. Avoid these like the plague. They are trendy, risky, and bad for you. They are not based on sound, long-term principles of wealth building. Instead, they are trying to sell you a new magazine each month, and they have to ramp up the emotional hype to do it. There are very good reasons why you should not be looking for the latest hot tip. That is emotional behavior. It's a stinking fish. Read about entrepreneurship and wealth-building principles instead. If it looks like they're trying to sell you something rather than teach you a principle, drop that fish immediately.